Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradari Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradari Yatsodanandana Prajajanaranjana Yatsodanandana Prajajanaranjana Jamanatira Vanachari Jamanatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradari Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradari Yasodanandana Brajajanaranjana Yasodanandana Brajajanaranjana Jamunatira Vanachari Jamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayam Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parabrahmacharya Satarasata Shishimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vindi Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Saho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gokopinath Shamakund Radhakund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadvip Dham Ki Jai Ganga Maya Ki Jai Jamuna Maya Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai Samaveda Bhaktivinda Ki Jai All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vistava. Would you mind? I left Brahma Samhita sitting there. Yeah. So my name is Pavamana, initiated by Srila Prabhupada in 1972. So I was asked to speak on the Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as the Supreme Controller. So I thought I'd read from the Brahma Samhita. So the Brahma Samhita is spoken by Lord Brahma, who is the first being in this universe. And when Brahma appeared after appearing on a lotus flower which had sprung from the navel of Lord Vishnu, and he's looking around and not seeing anything. It's just emptiness. Who am I? What am I doing here? What's it all about? And so he heard in the ether a sound, tapa. Tapa means austerity. So he began to meditate. He began to meditate very seriously. And gradually everything was revealed to him from within the heart. So Lord Brahma actually is the kind of like the engineer of the universe. He didn't create the ingredients. It's just like when I grew up, I would get some Lincoln logs or an erector set or something, and then you put things together. So he took the ingredients of matter, and through his vast intelligence, he created all the planets and all the bodies, and basically filled up the universe. So a secondary creator, secondary controller, almost like God, almost. And it is said that when one comes from the spiritual world, when one falls into the material world, the first birth, you get a pretty good opportunity to enjoy. You become a Lord Brahma, and you have your own universe. Okay, and from that, generally, by committing various unauthorized activities, you fall down into various species of life. Pretty hard to get your head around the magnitude. So Lord Brahma spoke this Brahma Samhita, and it was lost for a long time. And Lord Chaitanya, on his travels in South India, discovered it. It was presented to him. He was very happy to get it. So, reading this first verse, text 1. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Nadir Arda Govinda Sarvakarna Karnam. Translation. Krishna, who is known as Govinda, is the Supreme Godhead. He has an eternal, blissful, spiritual body. He is the origin of all. He has no other origin, and he is the prime cause of all causes. And I'll read the purport by Srila Prabhupada. I'm not sure if this purport is from Prabhupada or from Bhakti Siddhanta. I'm not sure. Anyway. Krishna is the exalted supreme entity, having his eternal name, eternal form, eternal attribution, and eternal pastimes. The very name Krishna implies his love-attracting designation, expressing by his external nomenclature the acme of entity. This has got to be Bhakti Siddhanta. His eternal, beautiful, heavenly beau-tinged body, glowing with the intensity of ever-existing knowledge, has a flute in both hands. As his inconceivable spiritual energy is all-extending, still he still maintains his all-charming medium size by his qualifying spiritual instrumentals. His all-accommodating supreme subjectivity is nicely manifested in his eternal form. The concentrated all-time presence, uncovered knowledge, and inebriating felicity have their beauty in him. The mundane manifestive portion of his own self is known as all-pervading Paramatma. Ishvara, Superior Lord, or Vishnu, all-fostering. Hence it is evident that Krishna is sole Supreme Godhead. His unrivaled or unique spiritual body of super-excellent charm is eternally unveiled with innumerable spiritual instrumentals, senses, and unreckonable attributes, keeping their signifying location properly, adjusting at the same time by his inconceivable conciliative powers. This beautiful spiritual figure is identical with Krishna, and the spiritual entity of Krishna is identical with his own figure. The very intensely blended entity of eternal presence of felicitous cognition is the charming targeted holding or transcendental icon. It follows that the conception of the indistinguishable formless magnitude, Brahman. Hare Krishna. It follows that the conception of the indistinguishable formless magnitude, Brahman, which is an indolent, lax presentment of cognitive bliss, is merely a penumbra of intensely blended glow of the three concomitants, in other words, the blissful, substantive, and the cognitive. This transcendental manifestive icon Krishna in its original face is primordial background of magnetunal, infinite Brahman, and of the all-pervasive Oversoul. Krishna is truly visioned in his variegated pastimes, such as owner of transcendental cows, chief of cowherds, consort of milkmaids, ruler of the terrestrial abode of Gokula, and subject of worship by transcendental residents of Gokula beauties, is Govinda. He is the root cause of all causes, who are the predominating and predominated agents of the universe. The glance of his projected fractional portion in the sacred originating water, in other words, the personal oversoul or Paramatma, gives rise to a secondary potency, nature, who creates this mundane universe. This oversoul's immediate energy brings forth the individual souls analogously to the emanated rays of the sun. This book is a treatise of Krishna, so the preamble enacted by chanting his name in the beginning. So, a little esoteric, shall we say. But basically, Krishna is the origin of everything. Okay. And he's the supreme controller, Ishvara. Srila Prabhupada says that we are also Ishwaras. Every living entity is an Ishwara in their own sphere, but not the supreme Ishwara. Okay. So the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, everything is working under his direction. There isn't anything that happens. There isn't anything that goes on in this world that he's not in control of. He's the supreme controller in every circumstance. It is for us, being as how we are conditioned in this world, to try to see how we are not in control, but see so many things that are controlled, that there must be someone, there must be something, some person who is controlling it. And of course, if we look in the mundane world, we have different controllers. We just elected a president, so he's a controller. And then there are other governmental authorities who are controllers. Okay. And there might be someone in charge of, some particular department, so they're also a controller. Somebody's determining which streets get their potholes fixed. Water goes from here to there. There are so many controllers. But above all, there is a supreme controller, and that is Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So in the material world, because of the nature of Maya, Maya is the illusory energy of Krishna, we don't see this. And I have made up this analogy. It's like when you go to the movies, you don't want to see the guy holding the mic on the end of a boom. You don't want to see the guy behind the camera, futzing with the lenses and doing all kinds of stuff. You want to get into the movie. At the end, sometimes they show things, but basically, in an analogous way, we're in this life, we're not privy to see what's going on behind the scenes. Who is controlling the clouds? I went out to the desert, spent a couple of nights in the desert. So you watch the clouds go over. How is that happening? There's someone, and we know now that it's Lord Indra, is controlling the clouds. And all these different things are taking place within nature, not automatically. There's a controller. There's somebody behind it. We just don't see it. We don't have the eyes to see. And the reason is that it would spoil the fun, basically. We are envious of Krishna. That's one of our original sins. As parts and parcel of Krishna, we're kind of like a chip off the old block, right? We have the qualities of Krishna in very minute quantity. So the tendency to be independent, because it's there in Krishna, is also within us. But we are given a choice. We're given a choice whether or not we want to remain under Krishna's control or try to exert our own control. And that can't happen in the spiritual world. Because in the spiritual world there is only unity. There is only a total agreement that everyone is serving Krishna. There is no other alternative. Nobody wants an alternative. They all love Krishna and they want to serve Krishna. But when we decide that somehow or other we don't want to serve Krishna, but we would rather become a Lord ourselves, then we have to come to the material world. And once you come here, the analogy is given like if you get rain, the raindrops fall in the dirt and it becomes mud. The mud makes the appearance of that drop look like mud, but it's actually it's a totally separate thing. The water is simply mixed in with this dust. But it's not a very good analogy, but the water is actually still water. we're still spiritual beings. But within matter, we are covered. And the material energy, once we come here, we are so small. And material energy is so great, we become completely bewildered. We become covered. Our knowledge is covered. So, just like, again, going to a movie, and you don't understand how things are going on. If you want to go to Universal Studios or go somewhere and watch how a movie is made, and all these different people, those people are writing a script and shooting the scenes, and then somebody editing it, and then there's all kinds of, somebody has to raise the money to, all kinds of things have to go on in order to have a movie. So in this world, this material world, somebody had to make it. We didn't make it. And we just sort of got here somehow, and we don't really understand it. But all we know is that we want to be happy, we want to enjoy, and so on and so on. And so as life goes on, various things, come by in our life, and according to our karma, we enjoy or suffer various circumstances. But we aren't privy to know exactly why. Someone over here, this is very common these days, that the government, they're seeing that someone over here has a lot and somebody over here doesn't have hardly anything. We have homeless people over here and uber wealthy people over here. And it doesn't look very equal. It's not equal. There appears to be some discrimination. There's some kind of inequity here that doesn't seem fair. So we should invent some type of government where we take away from those people who have a lot and award it to the other people who don't have anything, so that everyone can be equal. But what they don't know is that there's a background, that this life is not the only one, that we've had previous activities which have precipitated our particular circumstances. But we don't see it. We don't see the control. And we often don't want to see, right? You want to remain in ignorance so that you can enjoy. You don't want to see these people behind the production. You don't want to see, the people making up the, putting on the makeup and all that kind of stuff. Maybe you have some interest in it, but generally speaking, that would spoil everything. So, actually, in this world, we're not independent at all. And our senses are not privy to all of these things. We don't see what's going on, actually right inside of our own bodies, for example. The scientists are spending thousands, millions, trillions of man-hours trying to understand how the body works. But what they don't understand is that it's a remotely controlled machine. You don't see the people who are controlling it. If there's a certain demigod in charge of every single movement or activity that goes on in your body, but you don't see it. There's someone in charge of evacuation. There's someone in charge, it's a pneumatic machine. But the soul actually doesn't have any control over these things. You're simply desiring. It's like sitting in the passenger seat and telling the driver where to go. So we have nothing to do with the body other than that we're in it. And everything that's going on, all of our activities, the results of our activities are awarded to us, and the circumstances are all engineered. For each, just imagine this, how many trillions and bajillions of living entities are in this world? How many microbes are floating around in the air? How many, coronaviruses are floating around? There is a control. There is someone maintaining each and every living being. From every elephant in the forest, every bug, bird, beast, cockroach, fish, everyone is being maintained. Everyone is having their desires fulfilled. How is that possible? We cannot imagine someone or somebody so powerful. But it could not be otherwise. So human life is meant to inquire about these things. Animals don't have the opportunity. We're out in the desert and a jackrabbit runs by. And 2 seconds later, a fox runs by trying to catch it, right? But all of these things are under someone's control. There's some way that the jackrabbit has, even though it's just desert, there are no trees. He doesn't have anywhere to hide. But someone said they have a burrow somewhere, a burrow in the ground. So every living being is being taken care of by higher authorities. And within our hearts, Krishna is there as the super soul. He knows everything that's going on in your life. He knows your past, and he also knows your future, if you can imagine that. So, Ishvara Parama Krishna. Krishna is the supreme controller. But just like in the prison, sometimes they have trustees, right? The trustees are, they've exhibited good behavior. They're, going along with the program. So sometimes they get an opportunity sometimes they live outside the gates. They might have a minimum security where they could run away, but they're given a little bit of freedom and maybe some responsibility. You maintain the sprinkler system, or, you in charge of the lighting or the heating or whatever it might be, okay? So in this material world, there are demigods who are in charge of these various aspects of nature. If someone, Lord Indra, is in charge of the rain. So when Krishna appeared 5,000 years ago, the townspeople of Vrindavan were worshipping Indra because they were dependent on the rain for their crops. And Krishna wanted to explain that there's no need for worshipping demigods. You worship the Supreme God, which, guess what, is Krishna. So he diverted the worship to Govardhan Hill. We worship Govardhan, not Lord Indra. And of course it made Indra angry, and the whole pastime was going on. But within the material world, there are these entities who are controlling different aspects, but we don't see it. So, and human life is meant for inquiring about these things. What's it all about, Alfie? Right? What are we here for? Is there a purpose to life? Is there a reason why I'm here? And why am I suffering? Why am I not happy, even though I'm trying as desperately as I possibly can to find something or anything, something or someone or some circumstance that I can be happy? Why am I happy today, right? Or I had some experience where I was happy before, so if I try to do the same thing, I can set it up again and be happy again, right? But then you try to set it up and it doesn't quite work out the same, right? The circumstances are a little different. There's always some sand in the sweet rice. There's always something that's like, I don't get it. I don't understand it. I don't know why things happen this way when I didn't intend it that way. Why did I stub my toe walking down the street? It's because we don't really understand fully the situation that we're in. We don't put two and two together to realize what's actually going on. And what's actually going on is that we have strayed from the authority of Krishna, the authority of God. We have done things in the past, and sometimes in the present or whatever, that have gone against the will of Krishna. He gives us scriptures, he gives us instruction. The Bhagavad Gita gives a spiritual master. You know, the Christians have Jesus, the Muslims have Muhammad, so on and so on. They give good instruction, but these instructions are often, don't do this, don't do that. It's like the old Walt Disney days. You have, this guy, Jiminy Cricket. That you shouldn't do this, but because we want to. Our desire is very strong. Our desires are very strong. You're married to somebody, but then you see someone else you think is going to be more enjoyment, right? So you have some affair or whatever. So in this world, we are dabbling in a very dangerous circumstance. Very, very dangerous. Because at any time, some misdeed we did some time ago is going to somehow affect our life, right? That I'm doing some business, but somehow or other I get cheated. Or some circumstance, appears that I didn't expect, right? Even some things such as you go get in the car, you're going to go do a job, because my business is tuning piano, so I rely on my vehicle. You go out to the car and turn the key and it doesn't work. Or, something happened. So, at every moment we are presented with circumstances because of something that we did in the past, and we've been here a very, very long time. Okay? So, by conditioning, right, we're finding that, if I have, a girlfriend or whatever, that I can enjoy. But we don't realize that every circumstance like that comes with a bundled problem. Along with, it's a bundled deal, right? You buy something, you buy a computer part or something, and, they bundle it with something else so that it looks attractive, right? I'll save a little money or whatever. But what we don't realize is that as soon as we want to enjoy, right, mode of passion, enjoyment, right, along with that enjoyment is misery. And it's not equal. A little bit of enjoyment brings a lot of misery. But we don't want to see it. We don't want to see it. We don't want to accept that there's a good instruction here, but it includes something that's a restriction, right? We don't get the instruction from any scripture to go for it, right? Grab all the gusto you can, enjoy now, because there's no karma. Then that's a bunch of baloney. Just grab for all the gusto you can while you can, right? That's the advertising theme, right? In the old days, grab all the gusto you can, right? And even in the Eastern philosophy, they have Travak Muni, eat ghee somehow or other. Beg, borrow, or steal it, eat ghee and enjoy. Right? All these kinds of philosophies are very, very old. It's the same old thing. Okay? But what they don't teach you is that when you go for these things, the quality of the mode of passion is, the mode of passion means you're trying to enjoy, brings misery. So what we're hoping for, what you want, doesn't come. It's not what we expect. We don't expect misery, right? We'll just, be happily married, here from here to ever after, right? But it doesn't happen that way. And this is the thing about material nature, is that she's very strict. We came here AWOL, absent without leave, right? In the military, if you leave the military and go out in the civilian life without getting permission, then you're in a lot of trouble. They can throw you in jail. And they often do. Desertion, right? When you're in the military, you're in. You know, like they say, you're not behind the plow, you're in the army now. So, in this world, it's not meant for our enjoyment. There is some enjoyment here, but it's very limited. And the whole scheme is to allow you to do whatever it is that you desire, but at the same time, there's a lesson. There's always a lesson. Sometimes we find ourselves in the worst circumstances that you can even imagine. I'll give an example. This is the hardest thing I ever had to face in my life. My mother was living by herself in Malibu, and my younger brother had schizophrenia, so she took him in. So she got older and she couldn't do so many things, so she met this young woman through various circumstances, who turned out to be a tweaker, if you know what a tweaker is, okay, addicted to methamphetamine and other drugs and so on and so on. An absolutely unbelievable situation. And these people, unfortunately, when you get addicted to drugs, any sense of morality or ethics or anything like that goes right out the window. They'll steal their mother's, their grandma's wheels off their wheelchair to get money for drugs. It's their whole purpose in life. So she was taking care of my mother. I've never been so angry in my life. My mother would not allow her to go. I pointed out to her she had dementia. And so many things happened. I tell you, I could write a book about it. But I had no control. There was something, this circumstances was beyond anything that I could do about it. I became a conservator. The conservatorship law does not include being able to throw somebody out. I couldn't do it. I have two brothers. You got three guys, three men. Can't get rid of some young woman just because your mom wants her there? It was the biggest, how do I say it, challenge. And oh, Krishna, why is this happening? I mean, like I said, the range of emotions. Here's somebody that's your mom. And in former times, okay, my mom was really a very stern person. She'd have thrown this person out long ago. But somehow or other, there was some higher purpose to all of this. And I wasn't privy to it. And I was extremely frustrated and angry, to say it the least. So sometimes we find ourselves in circumstances that we can't control. And so the whole purpose is to wake you up. Why am I suffering? What am I doing here? And that if you don't come to that junction, if you don't come to that life, experience where it's like, what's it all about? Why am I here? Why is this happening? Why is that? Why do good things happen to bad people? Why do bad things happen to good people? Is there something more to reality than I'm seeing? And I remember I went to SanDiego State back in 69, 1970. And it was very lonely. And I was sitting in my room and I think, there's got to be more to reality than this. Like I was studying engineering and physics and all these sort of things. And it's like, well, there's a spectrum of electromagnetic waves, right? You have X-rays over here and, infrared, and you have the light spectrum. The light part of the spectrum of light is like a little sliver. But we take it as all in all. There's got to be something more that we're not able to see. So in a similar way, there's got to be some kind of reality for how things are arranged. How is it that the ocean doesn't just come and flood everywhere? Whose arrangement is that? You can walk along the ocean. You know it's not going to, unless there's a tsunami, which doesn't always happen. But again, somebody's behind that. There's a reason behind everything. And nobody gets away with anything. It's all controlled by higher beings that we don't see. So as we live life, we have to be introspective and ask what is it that's going on? How are things going on? How is this world going on? How am I digesting my food? I don't know. How is my body working? I don't know. There's so many things that are unknown. But the most important thing is that once you come to that conclusion, you have to find someone who knows. You have to find some source of information. You can't just, I'll take a little bit from here and there. You have to find somebody definitively who knows. And finding that person in this age is really difficult. You really have to want it. And if you are very, very fortunate, you might meet a devotee and get a book or, meet someone who's enlightened. And the problem is that, number one, we want to enjoy. So if somebody says, don't do this, don't do that, then we don't like that guy. The Prabhupada came to America, they're just going to tell me to go home because, I'm going to tell them don't take drugs, don't have illicit sex, don't gamble, don't eat meat. And they're just going to say, Swamiji, this is our whole civilization. Right? Prabhupada's godbrother went to London, and someone asked him, can you make me a Brahmin? And sure, yes, I can make you Brahmin. The only thing is you have to give up illicit sex, meat eating, gambling, and intoxication. Impossible. They can't do it. So this is a misfortune in this age, that we're so headstrong and so, running headlong into, sense gratification, we don't realize the danger. It's like a minefield. And even as devotees, we are, I wasn't born a devotee. I fell into this movement somehow out of my circumstances. I may have had some previous experience, but I don't know. But people are coming into our movement with previous habits, previous desires, and all these kinds of things. And there's always an opportunity just right outside the door for any kind of sinful activity. Okay? You can find some old friends. I went to a reunion last year and saw the old friends that I grew up with. And so there's always a danger that someone can influence you. And you become old habits. I used to smoke marijuana, and it's, hey man, try. Anything can happen. Anything can happen. So it's very, very dangerous. For one who is very serious, if there's some accidental fall down, it can be forgiven, right? You just don't make a habit of it. It's like Christians, they go to the church and confess on Saturday, and on Sunday, Monday, they do it all over again, like it's some kind of a business. But so for one who's sincere, to realize, I shouldn't do this. This is not good, and I regret it. I'm very sorry. Then you can be forgiven. But it's very dangerous, and we'd have all the opportunities. The senses are strong. We're young. When people are young, I'm not young anymore, but there's always some opportunity to enjoy. And if we're not feeling spiritually happy, then the pull gets even stronger, right? Because I'm maybe not chanting properly, not hearing enough, not following the program, whatever. So then you lose a taste. So it's a razor's edge. It's a razor's edge. But for those who are just finding out about Krishna consciousness, the main thing is to chant the Hare Krishna mantra and get a taste for it. I remember when I first met a devotee, came to my door, he said, if you chant 5 minutes a day, you'll see at the end of a week that your consciousness will change. And I tried it, and what do you know? It worked. I was very depressed before, and all of a sudden this depression is just floating away, and I'm feeling something. So that gives you faith. Okay, I tried it. A little bit of faith. You got to have faith. Even a little bit of faith to get started, right? Okay, I'll go to the Krishna temple, or I'll tune into the broadcast or whatever and see what these people are all about. They are very unusual. Their appearance is a little strange. But maybe they got something to say. Let's see, right? And so you take a book, or you taste a little of the prasadam, or try the chanting, and you find, oh, this is nice. And so it gives you an opportunity to make another step. Okay, now maybe I'll come to the temple, or maybe I'll pull out that book that I got from the guy at the airport, or whatever it is. And as you go along, you find that the things that devotees say and the things that are in the books that people say, it's starting to make some sense. It's like, oh yeah, this, and then you realize that there are some things that you can't know with your senses. Okay? That is where faith comes in. Okay? We can't know everything empirically. It's like pull yourself up by your bootstraps. It doesn't work that way. No one can become a spiritual authority by themselves. Just reading some book over here, whatever. I join some yoga group or whatever, and I meditate, and suddenly I'm a spiritual authority. It doesn't work like that. Because the world that we're in, being controlled outside of our purview, is made in such a way that you can't escape. It's like being in prison. In fact, the material world is actually said to be like a prison, because we can't leave it. We can't leave this world of matter just willy-nilly. Oh, I think I'll leave it now. Not so fast. Okay? Because we have material desires, because have this problem, we have this relationship with Krishna that we have denied, that we have rebelled against. So there are a lot of deep-seated feelings that we have to overcome. And that's why we have sadhana. That's why we're doing things that are sometimes against how we feel. If I have to do something for Krishna, what about me? Right? It's we're conditioned to think that I need to be happy first, and then I'll do something for Krishna. Ask me how I know. So gradually, as you progress, then you understand more that if I please Krishna, that I become happy. Okay. In a sense, it's not intuitive. It's not intuitive. Why serving Krishna makes me happy? It's a bit mysterious, because we don't understand. We're conditioned. We're conditioned for sense gratification, and think that I'm the center of everything. And that's why we're here. Okay. So altogether, this arrangement is that to bewilder us on one hand, and at the same time help us realize that, okay, wait a minute. There's something wrong here. There's something that just isn't right. That I need to determine what is this for, and how do I understand what's really going on so that I don't find myself in a bad place. People don't want to go to hell, but they do things that oblige them to go. People don't want to go to jail, But unless they follow the law, well, guess what? They're probably going to end up there. Okay? So, at the same time, there's so many people, right? You might be a twin of somebody. And you'll be in the same place at the same time, and you're a devotee, and they're a non-devotee. And they're having a totally different experience than you. And you're having a totally different experience from them. Because of your consciousness. Okay? It's not that we see everything, but we can understand that there is a Supreme Controller. And we have faith in that Supreme Controller, and we follow his direction, okay? And gradually things become revealed to us, okay? In the beginning, Arjuna, he couldn't see it. He said, I can't fight because I don't want to kill my kinsman. Who are we going to enjoy it with? And he came up with all kinds of excuses why he shouldn't do what Krishna wanted them to do. Okay? It was a setup. Okay. Krishna set up the circumstances so that he could speak Bhagavad Gita for us. Okay. But Arjuna was like, hey, I don't see anything good coming out of this. Right? And so similarly, we may not see that what we're doing, how is it really affecting anything? We don't see how Krishna's plan is overriding these things. Before Prabhupada came to America, he was in Vrindavan, and one day he was walking down the street and got gored by a bull. Why? Sometimes we don't see why circumstances happen in a certain way, especially for a devotee. I couldn't understand why this girl was in my mom's life. But after it was over, after finally this person left, so on and so on, I saw how my mother wanted and needed someone because she took the male role. She grew up in a family of, her mother died and she was the only girl in the family and grew up amongst men. And then she married my father, who already had a daughter. So she wanted her own kids. So we had boys, but my sister and my mom didn't get along. So she wanted someone that she could relate to on this feminine level. And so it was a way of fulfilling her desire, because the girl played the part. And I'm the daughter you never had, and, played the whole thing. So it was a way that my mom's desires could be fulfilled. So a lot of times things happen. We don't really... Why did this happen? Why did this, circumstances happen like this? But for a devotee, Krishna takes personal interest. When you have an inclination to Krishna, a lot of people, and I don't know about you, but, maybe you came to the temple, but you had a girlfriend, and then suddenly she ran off with somebody else. Break your heart. Or maybe you lost your job, or your car broke down, or whatever it is. Sometimes Krishna makes arrangements for people to surrender because, that was the one thing that was keeping them from becoming, a devotee, or surrendering and moving in the temple or whatever. So we don't see, especially for a devotee, sometimes things happen that we think it shouldn't happen this way, right? But at the same time, we have to have faith that somehow there's a silver lining to this. There's a reason why Krishna has arranged like this. What about the Pandavas? I mean, they lost everything in the gambling game, right? Why did that happen? It was Krishna's plan. But sometimes Krishna takes his devotee to put that devotee, make an example, right? How tolerant a devotee has to be. Jesus Christ was nailed on the cross. Surprised, actually, they didn't nail Srila Prabhupada to a cross. They understood what he was trying to do. So, sometimes things happen, but we don't understand why. But there's a Supreme Controller, and as long as we have faith that everything is done by Krishna, he's the Supreme Controller above all else, above all others. And he's a person, and he's totally into his devotees. Totally. Even someone has the slightest interest, again and again, he'll give you that opportunity, right? I saw the devotees at SanDiego State. I wasn't interested. It just wasn't time yet. But when I was sitting in my room, practically crying, there's got to be something more. Right then, the devotees appeared. I wasn't ready at the time. I thought there was just a bunch of weirdos and must be intoxicated. I mean, I didn't get it at all. But again, you get an opportunity. So this is, when you go out and you meet someone. Somebody drives by and you wave to them. That's the beginning. They just had an encounter with a devotee. That's huge. That's absolutely earth-shaking to have to meet a devotee of Krishna. For most people, unfortunately, it's a rare event. To meet a pure devotee, to have Srila Prabhupada only within the last generation. Just imagine if you were a Christian, how much you would want to meet Jesus. What you wouldn't give to spend a nanosecond in the personal association of Jesus. We had that. Prabhupada was the modern day Jesus. And not only didn't have just 12 disciples, he had 10,000. And he wrote books. So anybody can have association with Prabhupada by simply reading a book. How powerful that is. And how much anxious Lord Chaitanya is to bring us, fallen souls, back to Godhead. That's the whole plan. So at the same time, we're given, a little sandbox. Wayward souls come to the material world, we play in the sandbox, king of the hill, oh, I'm God, But at the same time, as you grow, as you go through experiences, you start to wake up. There must be something there. There must be something. But unfortunately, at various times, there may be very little opportunity to really understand what's really going on. And when a great soul like Srila Prabhupada comes, it's a great benediction. Because even non-devotees, not only non-devotees, atheists and demons, we all have a little demon in us, right? We're not, in former ages, devotees would live on one planet and demons would live on another planet. Now we're devotee and demon in the same body. So there's an advertisement, about this liquor, right? Captain Morgan rum, right? So the advertisement is, you got a little captain in you, right? Because it's not good, right? It's not good to drink this rum, but you got a little captain in you, right? So we all have a little, little demon in us, that I don't know, that presents doubts. And Arjuna also, he said, Krishna, I have this doubt, this demon of a doubt. He said, Madhusudan, I have this demon of doubt within me. So now I'm surrendering myself to you. Now I'm your disciple. We were friends. Okay, never mind that. Tell me clearly. I'm just absolutely freaked out. I can't do this. But I can understand that I'm not rightly situated, so you got to help me. Okay. What do I do? I'm now your disciple. Okay. And then what did Krishna do? He said, Arjuna, you're talking learned words, but no learned man says these kinds of things. You're a fool. Okay? Even you kill these people, their souls are eternal. You're not really killing anybody. And later on, Krishna said, they're already dead. Okay? I've arranged that all these soldiers here, they're gone. You can take part, or you can run off to the hills, Om, Mambi, Pambi, you're not going to, it's not going to bring you to eternal life. It's not going to bring you to heavenly planets. So it'll bring you to infamy. You're the greatest warrior on the earth. It's worse than death. What you're doing would be worse than death. To be dishonored. Someone's been honored like this, and you're going to walk off the battlefield and go meditate? And what are they going to think about me? Because I'm your friend, So the thing is that Arjuna at the time, because he was bewildered by Krishna, he didn't understand. And when Krishna is explaining to him, enlightening him, at the end he said, oh, okay. I get it. Okay, I'm now prepared to do anything you ask of me. Okay, you are the supreme authority. All the great sages and saints of the past have declared it, and now you yourself are declaring it to me. So I am prepared to do whatever it is you ask. And Krishna says, just surrender to me. Don't worry about anything. Don't worry that somehow you're not doing some religious activity. If you surrender to me, that's the ultimate thing. Okay? And during the battle, after the Bhagavad Gita was over, during the battle, Arjuna had to face his actual half-brother, Karna, who was actually a greater bowman, a greater fighter than Arjuna. And Krishna told Arjuna, when Karna's chariot got stuck in the mud, right? Got kind of muddy somehow. Got stuck in the mud, so Karna got off his chariot to lift the wheel out of the mud. And at that time, Krishna told Arjuna, kill him. Wait a minute. Kill him. And the purport was that if you don't, you won't be able to kill him later. Even though Kshatriya principle is you fight on equal terms. So there's surrender right there. That Arjuna surrendered even though he was thinking, well, this isn't right. But because Krishna said it, because Krishna told him to do it, there was no reaction. Had he denied, had he said, no, I'm not doing that, that would have been a sin. That would have had a bad reaction. Okay? So Arjuna surrendered, even though at the time it didn't seem right, but because Krishna told him. Okay? So sometimes we're presented with circumstances where it requires some faith, that this spiritual authority is telling me to do something. If you do it, then you make advancement. Okay? Srila Prabhupada told us that if you're living in the temple authority must be obeyed. If they're saying something wrong, he said, I will correct it or Krishna will. I was in the room when Prabhupada said this, so I can tell you firsthand that the authorities must be obeyed, even if we think that it's wrong. It doesn't mean you can't bring it up or try to, make some kind of argument. But once the decision is made, because then you're not responsible. Just like a soldier. Okay, sometimes in war things happen. You go into a town. There's some rebels, or somebody's in the town that's shooting at you. Okay, you go door to door and basically mow them all down. Sorry. Or maybe you get a bunch of people and they're all like, this happened in World War II many times, that you get a bunch of people and they're like prisoners of war and you can't take care of them. Bye-bye. So sometimes a soldier has to do something that he doesn't want to do. And so it happens. But if a person on his own goes and kills somebody, you're in big trouble. You go to jail or maybe executed. Okay? So in a kind of a similar way, under Krishna's direction only, we're not going to make anything up. But under Krishna's direction, he was telling Arjuna to do things that were bending the rules, right? Because it was Krishna's plan. And this is the glory of Arjuna, that he did whatever Krishna wanted him to do. Okay? During the battle, his brother, Yudhisthira, was told by Krishna, tell him that Ashvatthama is dead, because his father would become despondent. But Arjuna said, Yudhisthira said, no, it's not true, because he's not dead. Well, Yudhisthira had to see hell. He had to go to hell. Not stay there, but it was a reaction, because he denied what Krishna wanted them to do. And they came up with a workaround. It was like, Ashvatthama, the elephant, is dead. But his father didn't hear that. He just heard Ashvatthama is dead, so he became despondent and weak, and then he was killed. So there are some things in life that we don't really understand the whys or the wherefore. Okay? But if we look in a broader sense, especially as devotees, and I say this over and over, especially as devotees, we have to see how something is happening outside of my control. It must be Krishna. Even though it doesn't seem favorable at the moment. I might be suffering, maybe I don't have anything to eat, maybe my car broke down, whatever the circumstances, Krishna's in control. And every time something like this happens, you just have to realize that, okay, I don't understand it. I don't get it. But there's some reason for this. And we have to believe that it's Krishna's giving special favor. Okay? So this is, even Srila Prabhupada had things that happened that were unfavorable. He had to live in New York. Somebody stole his typewriter, stole his manuscripts. When he was in India, he had the whole manuscript of Bhagavad Gita written already. Got stolen. Can you imagine that? All that work. Yeah. Yeah. So, because Srila Prabhupada had faith, obviously disappointed, obviously I'm angry, upset, whatever, transcendentally, but he persevered because he had faith. And Krishna made some arrangement like that for whatever reason. Sometimes it's we don't really understand. But Krishna's control is everywhere, but especially for his devotee. Especially for his devotee. Okay. We sometimes don't see it for whatever reason, but that's what's happening. So, have I gone over my allotted time? I'm sorry, I didn't even... I can hear. Okay, okay. Do they have opportunity to ask questions? Does anyone have a question? Yes, if anybody has any questions or comments or corrections, anything I said. We have some Zoom members, and there's 12 people on Zoom and 12 people on the YouTube. So those who are on Zoom or whatever can ask a question. Or any of you can ask a question. So that's about it. Okay.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, I have a question. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I have a question. I read many times Prabhupada the quote, and I read recently as well. It's Prabhupada says, if you love Krishna, then you love all. So, but there are few people in my life, I don't love them. Honestly, I don't love them. It means I can never be Krishna consciousness person, even after doing so many endeavors. I try to polish myself bit by bit every day. But you still say, if I have even a single person which I don't love him, then I can be Krishna consciousness. It means I don't love Krishna.
I'm having a really hard time understanding.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So Balaram is...
If Balaram can explain.
Balaram, he understands what you said. I couldn't get it.
So, as far as I understand the question from, she's saying that the general idea is that if we love Krishna, then we love everyone, right? That's what she's saying. But she's saying that within her life, there's a few people, and I think I know who she's talking about, but there's a few people that she feels she just doesn't love because, whatever reasons. And there might be good reasons, but she feels she just doesn't love them. So, she's saying she doesn't. So her question is, well, if that's the case, if I'm in that situation where I really don't love these people, can I still be Krishna conscious? Does that mean automatically that I just don't love Krishna if I don't like, certain people?
Well, I would say that artificially, we can't, artificially, for example, all the living beings are part of Krishna. We should, if we love Krishna, then we love all the living beings. But I'm not going to let a tiger or a lion come in here. You pick your association. You may not, like a particular person, maybe a particular politician or whoever. You might not like them because they're unfavorable to your Krishna consciousness, or maybe they're inimical, trying to cheat you, or what's that? Yeah, but yeah. So, but on for a pure devotee, for one on the topmost platform, okay, they see everyone's equally, okay. On the platform of preaching and what we're trying to do, we have to make distinctions, okay. If someone is not favorable, now it may be that maybe you're married to somebody. Maybe you don't like the person you're married to. Does that mean I'm not Christian conscious if I don't love my husband or don't love my wife or whatever? We have to do our duty, okay? If you're married to someone, you have some relationship like that, if you're thinking of your relationship with Krishna, that I'm serving this person because he's a devotee, or Prabhupada's sister was married to a drunk. He was an absolute dacoit. But by her example, he eventually became changed. So sometimes we find a situation that's it's maybe unfavorable to our Krishna consciousness. I'm not going to pretend to be a marriage counselor or anything like that, but maybe you know somebody, or you don't happen to like a certain person, or this politician or that politician is a liar and this and that. You make your choice because we do. We are not on this highest. I'm not seeing everything from the highest platform in our everyday life. So you have to choose your association. If someone's not favorable, okay, if it's taking away from your Krishna consciousness, then you have to adjust things to make it favorable. Okay, you don't associate with somebody because, they're apt to, entice you to do something that you wouldn't ordinarily do. So you avoid bad association. But on the other hand, of course, everyone's a servant of Krishna, and one thing is, and I in analyzing the world situation, everyone has to have an opportunity to do what they want. Okay. Somehow some nefarious person is going to find a way to do something bad. Okay? There's a reason why so many millions of people were killed in World War II. Prabhupada said there had to be a Hitler. As crazy and unbelievable as that might sound. Because somehow or other, there were sinful activities building up. And so somehow this calamity had to happen in order for those sinful activities to be encountered and dealt with. So sometimes, if we don't like a person, it's like hate the sin, not the sinner, right? Saddam Hussein. Krishna loves Saddam Hussein. Krishna loves every living thing, every living being. And he's arranging all these things. You want to do something bad, Krishna will help you do that, but at your risk that something bad might happen to you. And he gives you warning after warning after warning. He told Duryodhana, he went to see if he could, stop Duryodhana from doing all these nefarious things. Didn't work. But he still tried. Okay, so you don't like what people do. That's generally why you don't like somebody, that they do something that you don't like. There's a certain previous president that I didn't care for, but I wanted to like him as a person. I didn't like the things that he was doing. So everyone, this has been one of my things that it's very difficult, that I have to see, okay, I can't do anything about the situation in the world, but Krishna is in control. And I might not like what these people are doing or those people are doing, but actually Krishna is allowing them to do these things so that they can learn a lesson, that then ultimately they'll go through all this suffering to someday, if they get fortunate to meet a pure devotee, somehow or other maybe they can be reformed. So it's a big, big, big plan. Krishna has a plan beyond anybody's imagination. How these things are going on, how every living entity is eventually going to surrender and go back to Godhead. I can't wrap my head around it. There's trillions and bajillions of living beings in this world. We've all gone AWOL. We've all decided we don't want to serve Krishna. And their souls coming down again, coming down from the spiritual world, according to what I understand. So we don't really see the whole picture. Okay, in the immediate circumstances now, maybe we don't understand, we don't like, don't like you, but I like you over here. We make choices, but ultimately Krishna has a plan for everyone, and everyone is actually we're all God brothers, and we should try to see as far as possible, give everyone an opportunity, because we don't know who someone is or what their background is. We've had devotees. We had remember Bhakti? He's got a place in Mayapur. I don't know if he's still there, but anyway. So he was kind of a ne'er-do-well, harassing the devotees and yelling at them and throwing things and just, being a jerk. Okay? And a devotee confronted him and said, you're just a punk. And it stunned him. He didn't expect that. And over time, he apologized and he became a nice devotee. So we don't know the circumstances. Somebody maybe is completely unfavorable. You don't know where that person's been. You don't know the circumstances. So we give everyone an opportunity and tolerate. Sometimes we have to tolerate things. But you never know. So, anyway, my obeisances to all of you. Thank you very much. Anybody, if you have any other further comments or questions, otherwise.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Nice class.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Thank you for participating. Is Krishna's testing us? How do we know that Krishna's testing us? Well, I would say, I think we're being tested all the time. We don't know when we're going to die. So, whatever we're doing, is going to affect what we're thinking about at the time of death. So, we're being tested. We're being, Krishna may arrange some alluring thing, circumstance. So he's seeing, how sincere are you? How much advancement do you want to make? Okay. How much do you want to surrender? And because he's with us, he understands everything. You can't hide anything. You can't hide anything. Any small desire, this or that, and he can take any small desire and fulfill it beyond your wildest dreams. Or he can take something that you really want and prevent you from having it, because it might be an obstacle. Okay, we have devotees, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Kularvecha Sridhar, selling banana leaves, right? And he's arguing with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu about the price, right? Dirt poor. And then you have, Maharaj Prataparudra, or I forget who it was. It was the one devotee during Lord Chaitanya's time, and he sent Gadadhar Pandit and said, "This is a great devotee." And he went there and it's like, this guy's enjoying like anything, peel me a grape. You know what I mean? Was it? It's like, man, this is a great devotee, right? And then, he's got all the babes, he got the big place, he's enjoying anything. But then he started talking about Krishna consciousness and he's rolling on the floor in ecstasy. Uh-oh. So, the circumstances, Krishna understands everything perfectly. Okay? So, yeah, we're being tested. We're being see how sincere you are. And sometimes Krishna can arrange something, a stumbling block on the path of something that you want to do, or he may open a path, something that you never dreamed of doing or having, then, suddenly you're being favored. So, it's all in how you accept the circumstances, whether it's favorable or unfavorable, right? You have, renunciates like, what is his name? What was the six Goswamis? Raghunath Das. So he's getting money from his parents and then putting on these festivals, right? And it's like, what do I need this for? I don't need this. Right? So he's seeing something, even though it's coming to him easily, he's like, no, this is no good. And he's thinking, well, he goes to beg out in front of the temple, right? Just people come out of the temple and, hey, Baba, and then he's like, no, I shouldn't be doing this, right? And then he goes and eats the grains in the gutter because the cows won't eat it. So he's seeing as, proving his sincerity, right? And we're not to imitate that. It's a different story. But, for a very sincere devotee, or a very advanced devotee, he can look at a circumstance and say, oh, Krishna's testing me. Was it Sanatana Goswami had that nice shawl? Sanatana Goswami? And Lord Chaitanya's going, we didn't say anything. He's like Prabhupada. Prabhupada would look at it and go, and he knew what he was thinking, right? That shawl is too nice for you. You look like a Bantasi, into sense enjoyer. I don't like it. So next thing he did, he went down to the river and found some mendicant down there and said, hey, can I exchange this shawl? Were you trying to tease me or something? What's wrong with you? No, I really want that shawl, and this is a really nice one. Here, take it. Okay. No, this is nice. And he went to Lord Chaitanya, and Lord Chaitanya, yeah, I like this. So, every circumstance is an opportunity to see what is Krishna's trying to show us. Yeah, we're being tested. Okay. My obeisances to all of you. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, 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 Hare Hare.
Nobody.